What's going on, everybody? We are back to the project. And today, I think the goal is to make it run. I don't think we're going to get to the headers today. That's going to be a whole job in and of itself. But I want to get the new manifold, the new carburetor. We got to adapt this fuel line. We're basically going to have to cut it and run a rubber hose with an inline filter so it can run back here. We got to get a couple little pieces of vacuum line. We got to get this bracket off and get a washer to put back there for a spacer. We got to get the bolts. Probably going to go to Ace Hardware and get the bolts for the water pump that also go through the AC compressor bracket. And I think temporarily, because we just don't have enough, I didn't do enough research on this carburetor. As we said the other day, there's just not enough places that I can find to hook up the cruise control, the kickdown cable, and the throttle linkage. I think for the moment, I'm going to leave the cruise control disconnected until I get that figured out. So I'm going to get started on getting this gasket off, getting it cleaned up, and getting the engine valley cleaned up so that we can get the new intake on. That's the first thing we got to get done. So you see I'm using a fender cover now, right? I saw your comments. A lot of you said, Randy, use a fender cover, but unfortunately, I don't know if you can even see that. Probably not. It's not that bad. Yeah, you could see it. I think you could see it. Yeah, my coat scratched the paint. Now we got to get the whole damn car repainted. No, I'm just I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, I know it's not a fender cover, but it'll work. I felt bad. I was literally leaning down here, and I've been literally, man, I kid you not, it's been about an hour and a half on this one side. This is no joke. This aluminum stuff has just, like, welded itself to my heads. I've never seen anything like that before. And I've worked on these old school cars, like, many times over the years. Pulled heads, and I've never seen the intake gasket just welded to the heads like that before. But here you can see it's done. The only thing preventing me from going any further is this damn bolt. And I've shocked it with a hammer. It soaked all night with PB Blaster. Unfortunately, I don't have a torch. And you can see I got the valley all cleaned out. And I know I had so many of you that were really onto me about not plugging up the intake ports. Normally I would. The problem is the intake ports had that aluminum gasket stuff welded to the, I mean, we're talking, I've got about 3 hours, and that is with a drill and a very stiff brush. It took me about 3 hours to clean these off. So I couldn't throw rags down in there because the rags would just get caught up in the in that metal brush. So what I did is I took my shop vac. I did the best I could to keep the engine clean, but as far as those intake ports, I used this shop vac adapter here, and it actually worked great. It fit perfectly into the heads, and yeah, I heard some so some gasket material ended up in there. I got it out. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. We got the valley all cleaned up. Mike is on his way. Weird Beard, thank God, lifesaver, he's on his way. I don't have a torch or anything. He's gonna come help me get that stud out. And now I want to answer a couple questions of yours. So the first thing I want to address is a question that I've seen over and over in the comment section. That is, are you flipping the Corvette or are you keeping it for yourself? Okay, keeping it, but maybe not. I'm not flipping, and as far as flipping it, trying to make a profit, this is not the car to do that on, guys. I think most of you know that, and that's probably why a lot of you are asking, because you think I'm insane. I would not be going through all of this work and so many unnecessary things like headers, and we could, if I wanted to flip it, I could have bought it from the guy that I got it from for the 6,500, brought it home, put brakes on it, and probably that would have been it. I mean, it ran and drove. There you go. And then we could have tried to have flipped it, but this is not a car that you're going to flip and make a profit off of. At least I don't think so. Like I said in the last video, I think right now, and I should have clarified in the last video too, I did not spend $10,300 in parts on the car. That is including the price of the car, all in. The cost of the car, tags, title transfer, everything all in we're sitting at just about $10,500 right now total. Now, if I wanted to sell this car next week, and that's with the intake done, the new carburetor on it, you know, everything done, I seriously doubt, I could be wrong, but I doubt I'd get more than $8,500 for it. So I would be losing more than $2,000. So no, the goal is to fix it up and keep it. I want to enjoy it. This is my car. This is my daily driver. I want to really enjoy it. And of course, at some point, I'll sell it. I'll get rid of it. And I understand from the beginning. I understood from the day I purchased the car that I will lose money on it. That's just the way these project cars go. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It's a hobby. This is not for making money. The next big question has been, why am I putting all of this work and money into an engine that I'm inevitably going to replace? And that is because I am so torn on putting a different engine in it, and I don't really know that I need 450 horsepower out of this. Like I'm back and forth with it. So what I decided to do is, until I can make a firm decision, I'm going to fix up this motor, minor modifications, a few little bolt-ons like we're doing right now, and I'm just going to enjoy the car as it is right now. And we will go get a dyno pull on it once it's done. And I know a lot of you wanted before and after dyno numbers on it. We will get the after dyno numbers. We don't need before. We really don't need the before numbers because we can look that up online. We know what the original specs were on this car, so that's not an issue, but we will get a dyno pull on it once it's all tuned and in sync and everything's ready to go. And the more I get to thinking about it, the more I really think I don't want to go and put a 204R transmission. I don't want to go and change all of this crap out on this car because I need an engine that's got 450 horsepower. I think we could do, and I don't even care that much about horsepower number, guys. I really don't. I'm more about torque. If I could get around 380 foot-pounds of torque out of that engine, which should be very easy and very doable, I think I'd be happy. And it's got a really weird gear ratio. It's like 3.07 gears. So I mean, this thing's very highway friendly. And I was thinking, you know what? Why don't we keep the TH350? Maybe we'll even keep the gears at 3.07, and we'll just boost up that engine. Not boost as in boost, but we'll take the engine, have it rebuilt. And, you know, if we can pull 380 foot-pounds of torque out of it, I don't care what the horsepower. That's enough for me. I think that'll be fun. It's not too much that I think the transmission's going to have a problem. I don't think we'll blow up the rear end or anything as long as we're not romping on it 24/7. So that's where I'm at now, but that's why I'm fixing up this engine, because I am so torn between let's go all the way and build the whole damn thing, and, you know, let's just refresh the engine, make it a little more powerful, and leave it as it is. I'm so torn between those. I'm just going to wait. You know, when I can't make a decision on something, I don't just jump. I stop. You know, if I'm having a hard time making a decision, especially a financial decision like that, where it's going to be $4,000 or so for a motor, it's time to stop and reevaluate things and just think about it, because that car is not going anywhere. Nothing's immediate. Nothing has to be done right now. So we're going to wait a little bit. There's other things we can do to the car in the process. Now, enough talking. Let's get back out there and get this damn intake on, or at least get Mike. Mike, please help. Please help me get this stinking bolt out of there, man. All right, so Mike is here, and his first idea, his first attempt, seems to be working. First thing he asked me is, do you got a pipe wrench? I was like, a pipe wrench? I'm like, yeah, I got a pipe wrench. Yeah, she's turning. I'll be damned. We might just get this car back running again today.
So be careful not to mess up our mating surfaces here. See if we got it loose enough for some vice grips.
I got to get to Harbor Freight and get some new vice grips. Those things are...
Well, do yourself a favor, only buy actual vice grips.
Yeah. I've learned that lesson. I beat the hell out of those, man, with hammers and everything.
Yeah.
I had a bigger set, but they bit the dust long ago. Yeah? Yeah. Man.
Get her out of there.
I'm excited. I want so badly to get this new intake on here, this new carburetor, and hear it run. Once I get this top end sorted out, I can focus on those headers and hopefully just kind of be done with this for a while. Yeah, it's embarrassing when you go out. That carburetor's had a dead spot in it since I got it, and now it's got a really loud exhaust. So when the carburetor hits that dead spot, it's like what?
Yeah. I tell you what, riding around in that Mustang yesterday I had a lot of fun, man. Brought back some memories, old Camaros and stuff I used to have back in the day.
You got plenty of projects sitting out there.
I know. I need to get started on some of that. One of these days, I'll get my money right.
I have been wanting an old car for so long. I mean, this isn't old, but I mean, by today's standards, it's old,
Right.
you know? I've been dying for a carburetor, and I get so many people on YouTube, they're like, why don't you get an EFI system for it? I'm like, yeah, I understand that it's more reliable. You know it's going to start,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
And you know you're going to get a bump in horsepower from it, but
It just doesn't have that old school feel.
yeah, I've got fuel injected cars out the ass here. I wanted something with a carburetor. Look at that.
She is.
Man, now we can don't worry, I'm gonna go in here and clean up all these threads before I attempt to put any bolts back in. But I gotta go to AutoZone. I got a laundry list full of parts that we gotta get. New bolts and some silicon and all that stuff. And we might just get this thing running again in this video, guys. Big shout out to Mike, Weird Beard from Weird Beard Auto Sales. Go check him out on YouTube if you don't know who he is already. I'm sure you do. But any of you new subscribers that don't, go check out Weird Beard on YouTube. He's got an awesome video of the Mustang that he just finished up doing a hell of a burnout. And if you guys ain't checked it out yet, go check out that video because that Mustang is going up for, hey, you know what you're selling it for? I had a lot of people asking.
I'm going to push for 5. Cross my fingers. We may have to go a little lower than that, but we'll see. We'll start there and see what happens.
All right, so we're going to start at $5 grand and we'll see what happens. So any of you that's interested in that yellow Mustang, it's up for sale right now. Go check it out. So we're finally about ready to put it all back together. I had to get some plugs for the intake bolts, a heater pipe, some thread sealer, a couple pieces for the kickdown cable on the carburetor, and for the throttle linkage, a return spring bracket, a new thermostat housing with plugs, new thermostat. We got the carburetor gasket. We got a new fuel filter. We got some plugs. I think I'm going to disconnect the PCV system altogether and just plug it. New vacuum line, a bunch of carb cleaner, brake cleaner, antifreeze, and we're about ready to go. This is a great workbench. We got the, I took y'all's advice and I used silicon. So for the China wall here, we've got plenty of silicon and it's setting up right now. I did put just a tad bit because of the pitting on the heads on each of these water jackets. I went ahead and put just a light, I mean a very light, very thin coat of silicon to help fill in the pitting and around the outside of these thread bolts right here, these thread holes, because I don't want water getting in there and leaking again. So we've got the gaskets sitting on here. We got the silicon setting up, and we'll give it about 10-15 minutes, and we'll gently take the intake manifold and we will set it on top of the motor for the first time. See what it looks like. You got to get this thing in here just right, and you got to get it set just right pretty much the first time, because if you don't, you're gonna have a mess on your hands. We will attempt to run our first bolts to make sure everything is lined up. There's bolt 1. Bolt 2. And we'll do the back bolts. Alright, there's bolt 3. And there is bolt 4. So now we'll start putting the rest of the bolts in. I'll torque it down just a little bit, and we'll let that silicon set up for a while. Then we'll come back and start putting it back together. All right, we got the intake on. That's just a matter of, unfortunately, using a wrench because you can't get a socket on this at all. You barely even get a wrench on here. Finish tightening her down. Oops. See what I mean? There's very little room here. And then we can start putting everything back together. Man, this is exciting. I'm ready to hear it run for the first time with the new intake and the new carb. We're getting there, ladies and gentlemen. The intake is on. We've got the new thermostat housing. I ended up buying a brand new one just to make sure it wasn't warped. We got that on. We got thermostat on. We got the heater bypass hose on. We got the little T-fitting for our transmission lines and the other lines. We got our distributor plugged in and locked down. We're getting close. I guess next, what do you think comes next? The carburetor. Set the carburetor on there and let's get a first glimpse of how it's gonna look. Set our little gasket up here. Well, that wind is kicking today. All right. Drop the carburetor down on top of it. And that is, that's pretty damn close to what it's gonna be. Of course, we still gotta put our studs in. Just trying to make sure everything's fitting up nicely and looking nice. I'm excited. It's getting close, man, it's getting close. All right, so here is the throttle bracket for the carburetor. And I should have known that this was not going to fit, but I read on a forum somewhere that it will fit, and it absolutely doesn't. So I don't have an adapter right now. I'm going to have to find one and order one because this is for the spread bore carburetor or intake manifold, and obviously I don't have that anymore. We got a square bore now. So temporarily, to get me by, I'm going to take a cutoff wheel, and I'm going to just cut it probably about right here. We're gonna cut that off, and then we gotta grind this end right here down just a hair because it will not fit on the carburetor. And this is just gonna have to be a temporary way to get me by. So hopefully all goes well here. Ching! And here is the new bracket. Now all we got to do is just grind it down a little bit up here to get enough clearance for the carburetor, and we'll grind off these burrs on the edge. We should be good to go. Okay, boys and girls, we are nowhere near having this, well, okay, we're close to having it done, but there's still a long way to go. I do not have the electric choke hooked up yet. I do not have any of the linkages hooked up, even though I had to modify both of the brackets. We do have the vacuum lines hooked up. We've got the vacuum advance hooked up, the distributors hooked up, plug wires are hooked up. There's no coolant. These hoses for the coolant are not hooked up at all. We're just trying to get a really rough guess as to whether this thing's going to run. I want to show you, I didn't do this without you. The filter is empty, nothing in it. We have not fired this up yet. I don't know that it's going to run. I had a slight issue. When I put the distributor back in, the rotor was pointing further this direction. It was pointing more this direction. The rotor was pointing more this direction. Now, in older cars, you'd think maybe you got it a couple teeth off, no big deal, you could just adjust it. This is a keyed distributor, which is actually a really good thing. It means it only goes in two ways, and I could either have the rotor pointing that way, which I know is wrong, or the rotor pointing this way. Now, how it got moved forward some, I don't know. The engine hasn't been turned over at all. It is what it is. We've got everything bolted up enough to start getting some fuel pumped through the lines. I'll have to come out here and pump the accelerator pedal by hand, or the accelerator pump by hand, and God, fingers crossed, man. I don't want to have to tear any of this off again. I really don't. So let's do it. It's also worth mentioning we have winds today, 50 to 60 miles an hour. It's running. How the hell did it fire up? There's no gas in it. It ran. There it goes. There it goes. All right, we're gonna stop right there. And the main thing we need to check for are fuel leaks. Oh, and this blanket that I've got about to get wrapped up in the air conditioning here. All right, so we've got fuel in the fuel bowl, obviously. I don't see any gas leaks up here. Interesting. I'm really surprised that it fired right up. The rotor was absolutely in the wrong location from where it was. Now, obviously, this whole thing is going to need tuned. Air-fuel ratio's got to be set. Timing's got to be redone. Everything is different. She doesn't sound very happy, does she? No, she does not sound happy. Woo! Getting better. Getting better. I don't want to run it long. We don't have any coolant in it. No more dead spot. Oh, baby. There we go. There we go. That's my girl. That's my girl. All right. Oh, she's running good. Real good. We got to get some coolant in it, man. Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited. All right, we're almost to the end of this journey. It looks like everything on the intake is doing well. Everything seems to be okay. I don't see any leaks. We've got coolant that's warming up. It's not hot yet. Got our kickdown cable installed, modified brackets, throttle cable installed. It all seems to be working. The electric choke is working. Now, like I said, obviously this thing needs a ton of tuning, and I'm not familiar with how to do the mixture screws. I know how to do timing, and luckily we've got a little timing plate down there that's easy to see. I think I still have a timing light, so I can set the timing, but I don't know how to set the air fuel mixture. The new valve covers and stuff are going to be coming, and they're a beautiful red color with Chevy down them, and the air cleaner is red and says Chevy. It's going to look really nice. I didn't want to go all chrome. I'm actually looking, and I see we're leaking a little bit of coolant right here. There's a tiny bit of coolant building up on this plug. So we'll keep an eye on that, as well as the other plug, as well as the plugs up here. We got a lot of plugs here. It looks like we may be leaking out the top one too. Great. This is what you got to do, man. You got to sit here, let it idle for a while, let it run, and keep an eye on everything. Cruise control is not hooked up anymore. We're gonna have to basically order the proper bracket for all of this so we can hook it all up. And definitely got to keep my eye on this cooling system here. Other than a couple minor leaks, everything seems to be all right. We'll go ahead and fire it up for you again. I mean, it starts right up. Starts right up. I adjusted the idle. We've got the idle set to about 600 RPM. Okay, it's actually idled down a little bit. It's about 550. Put it in drive. It's supposed to be around 500, and we're actually sitting at 400. So we need to crank the idle up just a hair. We're gonna let it run a while, and then I guess we'll take it on a short drive to make sure the carburetor and everything's doing okay. And then we can conclude this video. All right, so everything appears to be doing okay. It's sitting here idling. We've got pressure starting to build up on the cooling system. The leak that I saw earlier doesn't appear to be leaking anymore, but I'm going to be keeping my eye on it. It seems to be running fine, so I guess there's only one thing left to do. Take it for a ride. We got the T-tops off. Exhaust is sounding good. I'm going to be very careful with it for a little while until I can get it to somebody that's going to do a tune on it, because I am hearing spark knock, detonation when I'm sitting at idle and I rev it up. So I want to be very, very gentle with it. I've noticed some smoke from the exhaust, which is something new, at least after it's warmed up and running. But I did dump, there's a lot of brake clean, carburetor cleaner, all kinds of stuff got dumped down the intake. So there's a very good possibility that that's what happened there. All the gauges are looking good. It appears everything's doing what it's supposed to, so let's go for a quick drive. All right, before shifts like butter, third gear, downshifts, but man, you can hear that that spark knock. Gotta get this thing. I'll call a couple garages on Monday since it's Saturday, and we'll see if we can get someone to tune it up for us, get everything adjusted properly. But it's on the road. I mean, it's driving, and the best part for me is that other carburetor had a dead spot. I mean, it was the same spot all the time. When the accelerator just barely got pushed down, it would sputter for a second, and then it would take off and be just fine. But it doesn't do that anymore. Throttle is consistent. It makes the car much more enjoyable to drive. Let's get back to the house, wrap up this video. So I'm going to say it's a job well done. It's not the cleanest, it doesn't look the best. There's still a little bit of tweaking to do, some brackets to get, a few very minuscule coolant drips to make sure we get taken care of, and I'll probably handle that here shortly. Instead of going with the Teflon tape that I was using, I might just end up putting some silicone on the threads. I don't know. Comment below, tell me what you think about that. We'll go get it tuned and make sure that the air fuel mixture is correct and the timing is correct. And I guess the next portion of this project on this car is the headers. That should be fun. I'm happy. The way the throttle is so responsive and smooth now with no dead spots, that's huge for me, because I want to daily drive this. I want to enjoy it. That's hard to do when you go to hit the gas at a stoplight or something, you know, and it's like, what? Bleh. That's embarrassing. So at least now we got that taken care of. There's some things that showed up at Copart this week that I am very interested in. Very. And I shouldn't be, and you guys are going to kill me, because one of them is Volkswagen, the other one's an Audi. So in other words, they're both Volkswagens. I don't know if you guys are going to like this, but there are two of them I'm thinking about picking up this week. We'll see how that goes. Look at this. Who's the new dog? Who are you? We don't even know. Poor dog had no collar, was covered in mud, and just showed up at the house. That's kind of how our first dog, that's how Sugar showed up. Just out of the blue. Hungry and thirsty and dirty, so Tim bathed her and Tim fed her and gave her some water, and I don't know. God, we may have another member of the family, or someone may show up and claim her. Poor dog. She's cute though. What should this girl's name be? She's definitely grown. She's full grown. Sugar seems to be okay with her. Sugar's tolerating her for now. She's not too happy, but she's tolerating her. Ain't that right, Sugar? Or you're tolerating the new dog, but you're not happy about it. Sugar, come here. Are you not happy? You're mad at me? You're mad? Yeah, Sugar's mad. This dog's cool though. All right, guys, gals, stay safe out there. We got a lot more to come, a lot more to do. I really am trying to find something from Copart. I really am. So many of you are so upset that there's no new cars. I understand that. I've got the money for it. We're ready to do it.
we got to find something worth bidding on, something worth buying, something interesting, even if it is a Volkswagen or an Audi. I mean, we got to, I'm not just going to go, I almost bought that $300 BMW, but so many of you were like, don't walk, run away from it. Run away, that thing is horrible. You don't want it. Although I will say, this came in the other day, and this is a launch something or other. This is a really impressive little device here. It's an X431. It's the Launch Pro Mini. This is, I think this thing's almost $1,000, and it came with all kinds of stuff, folks. A BMW 20 connector, a Benz 38 connector. We've got, I honestly, I don't know what all this is. We've got like auxiliary power. I'm not sure why you need all this, but you've got it. You've got an RS-232 serial port connector here. I'm not sure why you would need that. Another, okay, this is for the power. This is for the RS-232 port, and this plugs into the OBD port. Then we've got some more some more OBD ports. Okay, that's for the RS-232 connector, so you can hook this into a Mercedes. Like this, this little thing right here. I'm really excited to get some use out of it and review this for you guys. So, big shout out to Launch for sending that to me. And with that, we're out of here. Stay safe, and I'll catch you very soon in the next one. Woof.